Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my first lesson that's a free lesson for students who are studying AQA GCSE language papers. This particular tuition is going to be based on language paper 2, and it's going to be on question 3. Now, if you've seen the other videos I've posted, I've probably already shown strategy of exam techniques that I would use in the language paper exams. And it's turning the pyramid upside down a little bit because I get students to look at the questions and work back to front. And I'll explain that in another tuition video later. But today I want to just focus on language paper 2, question 3, which is the language question. So what I'm going to first do is share my screen and see if we can get this one up. And so this is the language paper 2 question 3, and if you notice when it's when we look at the actual question itself, it asks you to refer to source B from lines 8 to 18. Now, for the sake of this video, I've converted the PDF language paper into a Word document, and I've actually put the insert that is being looked at in the question on the Word document. And of course, anybody who wants this document and have a go at this themselves just needs to send me an email or contact me, and I'll send them the documentation. So in this one, this is it says, how does the writer use language to describe her first experiences of cycling? Now, this is a 12-mark question. It's a pretty important question, and it's one that I would suggest that the students spend about 15 minutes on this question. But the first part is, if they have followed my strategy, they would have already read this source very well. But we look at it here, and we've got the detail below. Now, my suggestion is in the exam, obviously this is going to would be a hard copy, and they would probably be writing where they won't be working on a computer. But the first thing I would do is we are going to look at language and to describe this lady's experience of cycling in London. Now, source B generally tends to be a more historic source based on the theme of the paper, which runs right through the paper. In this case, it's cycling. Source A is also an article about cycling, and it's from the Garden newspaper. This one is an article, it's 1896. So the first thing I would do, because we want to find language, is read it through and quickly highlight what we consider to be areas of interest, language features, etc., etc., which we should highlight, maybe with a highlighter pen or something else, and just quickly go through various things that look interesting in the text. It's done burning to my fate in traffic. And then, as yet as nervous as a hare. So there's all sorts of language features. Even looking at keywords like launched is an interesting word from Victorian time. I would probably make that bold because it's quite an interesting one. And then launching into July into the stormy oceans of Sloane Streets. And then it continues on. I arrived in about 2 hours, streaming and exhausted, could be something we could highlight, etc., etc. And then went straight to bed, where I had lunch in a state bordering on collapse. So I'm quickly highlighting things that could be very descriptive and, actually have a good thing and conquer the nervousness. So there's lots of things in the extract straight away that we could write about. Now, when it says, how does the writer use language to describe her first experiences of cycling? One of the things you need to learn to do is always to work through the extract in an ordered way. And in this case, for instance, if I wanted, I'm not going to look at every paragraph that I would write, but let's see one paragraph that you could write about, where she launches her little bicycle into the stormy oceans of Sloane Street. So we would write a paragraph where we would probably say, the writer shows her determination of cycling in the busy streets of London. So we said the writer shows her determination of cycling in the busy streets of London by using, sorry, I'm not the greatest typist in the world, but by using the metaphor, by using the metaphor, stormy oceans of Sloane Streets. So, stormy. So as we write this, we're picking out the imagery that she's creating to us. So the writer shows that her determination of cycling in the busy streets of London by using the metaphor stormy oceans of Sloane Street. And then what I would get this as students always to do is not just to say it's a metaphor, but then show the impact of why that metaphor works. Well, the metaphor uses stormy oceans of Sloane Street as a whole phrase. We know that it's not a seaside area, and it's not certainly full of the sea. But it kind of links up to the word I launched my little bicycle. Launching is like launching a boat early on. So the writer shows the determination of cycling in the busy streets of London by using the metaphor stormy oceans of Sloane Street. This gives, so I would say the words stormy, so I would highlight these, the word stormy ocean gives an impression of a wild, aggressive street, which implies that the street is very busy and full of traffic. So my suggestion is I've pulled this actual quotation out. I would always suggest that if you're picking out quotations, go in chronological order. So I would probably start with cut figures of 8. So I say at the beginning of the text, the writer shows her competence in cycling because she can cut the figures of 8, and this she's determined to get out and start cycling by burning to try my fate in traffic, and at the same time as nervous as a hare that feels the ground's breath. Now I would paragraph each of these and create what I could call an answer of 3 marks. So the writer shows a determination of cycling in the busy streets of London by using the metaphor stormy oceans of Sloane Street. The word stormy ocean, that's what I'm trying to say, the word stormy ocean gives an impression of a wild, aggressive street, which implies that the street is very busy and full of traffic. So my feeling is, to really do well in this particular question, you need to highlight the areas of importance immediately, and then pick out the quotations that give you something to write about, that identifies literary devices and language and words and sentence forms that you are supposed to do when it says describe how the writer uses language to give her experiences of cycling. We then would be trying to aim to hit about 3 marks per paragraph. And if you can do 4 paragraphs, good paragraphs like this sort of paragraph, you will probably get maximum marks. Another tip that I would give is almost construct your paragraph. So you could say at the start of the extract, and you could use connecting phrases. So you could put it at the start of the extract. That's one phrase you could use. As it moves forward, then you could put in a furthermore, and then you could put a finally. And if you put these in to precede each paragraph, it looks a lot better, and it really orders your thoughts and what you are actually trying to say. But remember, the secret of doing a good question is to identify the technique. So it's identify the technique, identify the techniques, and then explain how they become a metaphor or simile, etc. Metaphor, I don't know why I've put that. Terrible typist, really. Explain how they become a metaphor, simile, and then just write the impact on the, and then write the impact. So why has that gone away? Right, so write the impact. Yeah, so it's there. So explain how they become a metaphor, simile, and then write the impact on the story, on the article. I call it, so this article, this technique I call the 3LT, and then that means level 3. So it's just a 3-level technique. Okay. So I hope that has given you some insight on how to do that question by ordering your thoughts. You use a 3-level technique to describe how the writer uses language in an extract, which means identify the reference, talk about how that is created into a metaphor or a simile or a personification or whatever it is, or alliteration, all the things you know, and what the impact is on the article. Anyway, I hope that I'll come out of that now. So that's the first free lesson. I hope that will help you do that question as soon as possible. Please send me your comments, and I welcome feedback. This is my first transmission on it. It's probably not as fluid and as good as it should be, but at least it gives you an idea. Thank you very much. As I said, my name is Adrian Henson. You have got details of how to contact me on this broadcast.